All right. So we're looking at mindset change. And, so I've been working professionally, getting paid to do this type of work for the last 30 years. But I would say this journey started 52 years ago, when I was born. Born into a family that, was very supportive, very traditional in the sense of, strict, certain values, these sort of things. I grew up in Belmont, which was also very instrumental in how I developed my own mindset. In school, academically, I was what one might term a failure, abject failure, underachiever. I went to St. Mary's College, by the way, and I occupied a seat for 5 years. Anyone who went there from 79 to 84 would understand. Right? But, being what society would have called a failure for me in my, school years, once again was also very instrumental in how I still see life today, because I never really saw myself as a failure. School was just boring for me. I was very playful. I was very active. I was just, school just didn't hold me, right? And I got the wrath of deans and teachers, and I had a teacher jack me up in Form 2 on the wall of a hallway and telling me, Sloane-Seale, you feel you bad. I'll deal with you, you feel as a man, this kind of thing. And I was like, wow. I was like, what's going on here, man? Like, I remember, residues of trauma. So for me, I was like, wow, this is really like crazy. So for the rest of my time in St. Mary's, I was basically a self-fulfilling prophecy. I decided, I will be that which they have labeled me as, more or less. From Saints, I went on to St. Joseph College, repeated Form 5. Got 5 passes eventually. And when Nigel spoke about, was it Tricks of Fortune, and what's the other? Oh, Tricks of Fortune and Fate. Luckily, my parents, both professionals. My dad was a lawyer, my mother was an accountant. They could afford to send me away and get me out of Trinidad. My father was more than happy to send me to John D. I was more than happy to go. But my mother felt, nah, you have potential. So I went to Canada. And before I got into university, I went to 3 high schools. 3 high schools before I got into university, right? And I've seen all of this because, people make mistakes. People, we don't all get serious at the same time. And due to tricks of fortune, I guess, and fate, I had a mother who was she persevered. She always told me she prayed to St. Jude. And she said that, St. Jude is the patron saint of the hopeless. She said, and she would say, it's not that you are hopeless. It's just that sometimes I think you find yourself in situations where you feel hopeless. I don't know if that helped or not. But she persevered. And as was said earlier too, when people have concern for you, you then have concern for them, and you don't want to fail in their eyes. And I experienced that throughout my high school, my schooling career in Trinidad too. There were teachers in St. Mary's that I did well, their classes I did well in, because those are the ones that pulled me square and say, Sloane-Seale, here what? X, Y, and Z. If you feel, you want to disrupt the class, try and control yourself now. Let's try and have a good term, this kind of thing. And I always felt, agreed, okay? And I would put in a little extra effort to pay attention. I did well in those classes. I'm saying this because these are all things that resonate with me today still when I work with the youth that I work with. Because I recognize that people do a lot of things for a lot of different reasons, right? And here I am, a child who grew up privileged. I grew up privileged. I never hide that. I don't tell people there's no rags to riches or no sad story and stuff. It was just me as a young person, full of energy, just, experiencing the world my way. and having a lot of judgment placed on me over the years. That I really felt, wow, like people do, okay, they don't know me. Like they don't understand me and they don't know me. And when I got an opportunity, you know, as you get older and you experience things and you get to put things in perspective. Luckily for me, and I say lucky, I went to university to do political science to hopefully get into law because that's what my dad did, you know, and I just figured, you know, maybe I should follow in those footsteps. But then I did a sociology course, and that sociology course really took my attention because it was about how we relate, you know, and kind of everyday things that reading it in a textbook really aroused my my urge to learn more and understand more of human interaction. So I did a degree in social and psych. I switched majors. And after I graduated, I worked in Toronto with juvenile delinquents for 5 years. I was 22 years old when I graduated, and the youths that I worked with were between the ages of 15 and 19. So we were listening to the same music, we dressed the same way. I related to them. The only difference was I was a staff member who was in charge of them, and they, you know, were young offenders who were just trying to find their way. And in exchanging stories with them and listening to their stories and reading their files, I recognized that I was very lucky, you know what I mean? Because things that they got caught for and entered into the judicial system for, I got away with. You know, you do a lot of foolish things when you're young. And unfortunately for a lot of people, that follows them for their whole life and changes the trajectory of their life. And for me, it didn't. And coming back home, I say, you know, it's great that I spent 5 years abroad working. I spent just about 10 in total. Because I remember when I graduated my degree and I started to work in social services, I was in a situation where my supervisor would give me a certain level of autonomy, and I would be like gripped with a certain level of fear. Because, you know, growing up in Trinidad, if you make a decision on your own and you fail or you flop, it's like the whole world could come down on you. You know what I mean? And it's like, wow, it doesn't encourage you to be innovative or to kind of jump out of the box. But I got a lot of support, and a lot of my ideas were supported. And even when I did something that was not, you know, didn't hit the mark, I was given the opportunity to, 2 minutes, right? I was given the opportunity to make amends and to, you know, wheel and come again, so to speak. So I came back home in '94, and I remember working with Families in Action and then working with the YMCA. And that negativity that I remembered growing up started to rear its face again. You know, who's this fella? Who's this red man with a ras? He come back from Canada. He feeling everything about social work. I mean, I used to get these kind of things, and I'd be like, whatever. You know what I mean? Luckily, I came back with a certain level of confidence and understanding, and myself, more importantly, but also in terms of the work to be done to help to transform young people into more productive and confident individuals. So in coordinating the program for 11 years at the YMCA, what we really focused on was positive reinforcement. And when we talk about mindset change in Trinidad, I mean mindset change. I thought it would be simple. But I realized that our patterns of behavior are very, very deeply entrenched. And even here we can talk, and you know, cognitively within our minds, we can understand what everyone's saying and stuff. But when we go back out there, we kind of carry on with the same sort of attitude, laissez-faire, drive on the shoulder if there's traffic on the road, break a light here and there, you know, and carry on, because these are the patterns of behavior that we have grown accustomed to, and it's just it's who we are, you know. And it's when we look at crime, we always think about the homicides, and we think about the blue collar, working class, ghetto crimes, the low-income community crimes. And for me, when I think about the society as a whole, I'm looking at how, the politics, how the business class, how we interact with not only each other, but with those who are trying to make better in their lives. And, without any apology, I mean, from the 16, 17, 18, 1900s to now, we still very much have entrenched in our society a plantation mentality. A plantation mentality, And the politician, the business person, the person who has access, we talk about poverty leads to crime. So what leads someone who has access and has education and has power to be criminal? If you understand what I'm saying. And if this is what we're seeing at the leadership level, right? And I'm saying in general terms here because we know since, I guess, time immemorial in a post-colonial situation, this is what happens, right? So we have to understand that aspect of it. Give me another 2 minutes. I'll finish it now. Right? I want to throw these things out because, positive reinforcement, letting young people know that, they have potential and they're intrinsically are good people, which they are. And they're looking for acceptance, which they are. That's what gangs provide, acceptance. That's what it provides. The homicides and the crime is a byproduct of a lot that has to do with our patterns of behavior over centuries that we still have not changed. So when we talk about mindset change, it's really evolutionary. It's really evolutionary. And we have to think about each and every one of us when we leave here today, whatever you've internalized, whatever you've heard, when you're in a situation where you can be different, right? Whether it's how you respond to someone or not respond to someone or whatever have you, just check yourself and see how you feel. See how you feel. We actually have to start a process of training and practicing, training persons and practicing positive, good behavior. If you understand what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that in any kind of moralistic way, though, right? But I'm saying in our day-to-day interactions, I mean, even myself, I always checking myself, because like, wow. I mean, what we've learned, what we experience in the day-to-day is so, it's so complex and it's so ingrained in us that, we have to take stock every moment and every day in our interaction with people. Because the youth and the children of today are a mirror reflection of the adults. People talk about the lost generation. The youths are not the lost generation. It's who took them there are the lost generation. But we lost a long time, eh? We lost a long time. Trust me on that, right? And if we have to find ourselves, we have to be true to ourselves and we have to be real, right? I want to say real. Stop. We run down things that don't really add value to our lives. What adds value to the human life is human relationships. Right? A longitudinal study just came out, 75 years, and what people who have lived in that study beyond 75, 80, and so forth, what they found was that the quality of their relationships. And that is what it's all about. We have to get back to, not get back. We have to forge a new tomorrow where we can build relationships that are based on trust, mutual respect, and understanding. Thank you.